Paul Daugherty, presented by josephauto.com. We are here at the Moerlein Lager House tonight. Nice crowd in here. We've got a fun night planned. Bengals long snapper Clark Harris is with us. Let's hear it for Clark Harris. We're excited to get to that. Of course, I have a table full of friends here, so we'll start introducing everybody. Of course, your name's on the show, Paul Daugherty. You've been doing this for 25 years.
Sadly, but true, yes.
Mr. Positivity in the city of Cincinnati, as always. Doc, how are we?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I have Lindsay Patterson, pulse on the nation of the Cincinnati sports scene. How are we doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Of course, Joe Reedy, resident Hall of Fame voter, lover of seafood. Come fresh off the trip from Miami. Was the trip to Miami everything that we hoped it would be?
Everything and more, Paul, including that 6 a.m. flight out 6 hours after the game ended.
There's not much worse than watching a game go into overtime when the flight leaves before 6 a.m. We left the press box at 3:15 a.m. in Miami. I'm not proud of it. We probably should have gotten out there earlier, but we were dedicated to bringing the news nuggets to you because there was plenty to talk about it. So let's talk about it. Here's the thing. It's election night. So it's time to cast some votes. And at Cincinnati.com, we have all the election night coverage after this at 8 p.m. The election coverage from the Board of Elections will be there, give you all the results you need, but we're going to cast our votes now. Right now, here it is. The big news, obviously, of the loss to Miami is the Geno Atkins injury. How do you recover from this? Who has to step up? So everybody, it's time to cast your vote. Who has the most pressure on them right now to fill the role left by Geno Atkins?
I don't think any question it's Andy Dalton. I think the offense has to take up the slack. I think the offense is far healthier than the other side of the ball. I think we saw for 3 weeks in a row what Andy Dalton is capable of doing. I think that Geno being out is going to cause problems on all fronts on the defense because defense is kind of interconnected. Everybody kind of works together. And without an effective pass rush, your secondary has a chance of being exposed a little bit. You might be giving up a few more points than you were. The onus is on the offense to score more points.
Is it that simple, Lindsay?
You know, I'm going with Zimmer. I know he's done a pretty good job all season with 8 defensive guys on the IR. All the guys on the IR are defensive guys. I think you have to get Brandon Thompson ready, get Carlos Dunlap, Michael Johnson, get some of the leaders, some of the vets like Terrence Newman, Chris Crocker ready. I think it's going to be on Mike Zimmer, and I hate to say it, but it's going on him this week.
Reedy, who you got?
Well, I got to narrow it down to one.
You can do whatever you want. This
Okay.
is our show. We can do everywhere. There's no rules.
Carlos Dunlap and Michael Johnson. Pressure is firmly on them. They're making a ton of money this season. Michael Johnson, franchise tag, could be one of the top free agents next year. Only 2.5 sacks right now through 9 games. This is their time to show that they can be dominating defensive ends and really show that it's not just a Geno effect, that they have talent, that they can persevere through this.
For me, the bottom line is you don't look any further than the players that are actually going to be taking their place. Brandon Thompson and Devin Still, when Devin Still does return from his elbow injury, were drafted in the position they were because they were expected to fill a role. They're in their second year. These are second and third round draft picks. These are not undrafted guys. These are not nobodies. They're
not Geno Atkins either.
This is true. And I don't think you're asking them to be Geno Atkins, but they need to be effective enough so that the pressure is not all go to the ends. You still have to get that push up the middle. They have to be able to stop the run. No one's asking them to be Geno Atkins, but they need to be good. They need to live up to be above an average defensive lineman. And you're right. You said, Doc, though, Andy Dalton, the pressure is on him in a lot of ways because the offense is healthy. I guess my question would be, is that fair? And what else do you need to expect of him? I mean, is that a matter of continuing what you're doing?
I think it's fair. I think it's very fair because those 3 games showed us. They kind of whetted the appetite. This is what this guy is capable of doing. 3rd year, hasn't missed a start. I don't know how many starts in a row. He's 40 or 41 in a row by now, including the playoff games. Let's go. give this defense a boost because this defense is really going to need it.
And offenses can carry you. I mean, I think this is an offensive league. You look at the teams that have won Super Bowls. It's been primarily because they have passing games that can get it done. Is Andy Dalton good enough to replace a player like Geno Atkins?
You had Andy Dalton in October, the offensive player of the month. He struggled really badly in Miami. Those 3 interceptions, yes, you can say 2 were on him. 1 was on Mohamed Sanu. He's playing better than he has in the past 2 seasons, and that's what we want out of Andy Dalton. He's starting to get believers if that matters or counts. He has to play better consistently going through the month of November.
We saw 3 interceptions and a safety in Miami. 12 points right there. Cleveland saw a couple turnovers. That was the difference in the game. And those turnovers were by Andy. You've almost got to play nearly perfect. And let's face it, when he's had turnovers, they haven't been your normal garden variety. Those have been some bad, heinous turnovers. Yeah. And they've got to eliminate that. But I think the one thing, too, about the defensive line, and I kind of equated this in the story for Saturday, I remember a case in 2010 where Tank Johnson, Antoine Odom got injured, and Carlos Dunlap, Geno Atkins had to step up as rookies, and we needed to see what they could do. This could be kind of with a Devin Still and a Brandon Thompson. Yes, the timetable's accelerated, but you draft these guys for a reason.
We sat here at this desk last week and talked to Chris Crocker about what he thought was one of his most rewarding seasons. He mentioned 2008. He talked about a team of guys that Mike Zimmer pieced together that nobody believed in, that ended up being one of the better defenses in the NFL because guys that had to step up did, and Zim showed he was able to get it out of him. This kind of needs to be a replica of that, but not on such a grand scale. There's still so many good players.
And Dick LeBeau has shown that you can scheme a decent defense if you have a pass rush. Pittsburgh was never known for having great corners, but those corners were protected by LeBeau's scheme and the fact that he had guys who could rush from the edge. If they can do that, those guys are not going to be on islands. They're going to be protected. They're going to be okay. If they can't get the pass rush, maybe they got to blitz more. If they blitz more, that's even more pressure on the deep guys. So we'll see. It's possible. It's doable. And like you said, it's up to these young guys. They've got the opportunity now. It's time for them to get going.
Yeah, and this goes beyond Geno Atkins. This goes back to Leon Hall. I mean, this goes...
Robert Gathers
also.
Ray Maluga.
Yep. All these guys that are out. And there's the numbers are beginning to pile up. But, Mike Zimmer's a pretty confident guy and believes he can get it done. Joe, where are we at with signings as far as replacing? We have a new guy in-house after our Canadian was deported from the Bengals, essentially. So we have a new guy signed, right?
Yeah, Keyston Randall, 7th-round pick Miami last year. Played well as a rookie, got caught up in numbers this year. Has been here a couple times for workouts, so they're really familiar with him. Still got one practice squad spot left, so, do you move somebody back down and bring somebody in? I know Michael Huff was in for a workout, which that draw a lot of interest. My whole thing with DBs, though, Paul, is that when you bring them in, they need a good 7-8 weeks. We don't have 7-8 weeks. You've got to produce now, and you're basically looking to backfill anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement happening there. Devin still appears to be still a couple of weeks away. Obviously we don't get a lot of information about injuries from the head coach. So
I think AccuReady 5000's got about 85-90% chance of precipitation.
Exactly. That's about all we get. But I guess one last question to go before we move on. Is anybody concerned about the Miami loss?
No.
It feels like a loss in a string of tough games.
Nah. I mean, fans saying, well, this team is inconsistent. Well, tell me a team in the NFL that is consistent, other than being consistently bad. Jacksonville is bad. Tampa is bad, but Tampa almost won in Seattle the other day. There are no consistently good teams in this league. A 6-3 record is pretty good. I'd be far more concerned about the injury to Geno Atkins than the loss in Miami.
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough stretch, though, Lindsay. I mean, you're talking about 4 road games in 5 days, short week, injuries, all of that.
You know, it was a short week, but then you look at it on the positive note, they had 10 days off. They've had a little bit of rest, get things back into gear. Like Doc said, there has not been a statement game in the NFL. There's not really 2 or 3 teams that you're like, wow, that team is great on both sides of the ball. Teams are facing injuries. You look at Green Bay last night. Losing Aaron Rodgers for 3 weeks is huge for a team that needs to get to the playoffs and win the next 3 games. So there's not a team out there that's not facing injuries right now.
Do you see a clear-cut dominant team in the AFC that's that much better than really anybody else?
Not at the moment. And I think 2 things to remember. Cleveland's win over Baltimore helped out a great deal.
Right.
Because a lot of us could see a scenario after this loss where they go to Baltimore and in a matter of days it was down to a half game. Right. That doesn't exist anymore. The other key thing to remember, and this might prove Marvin's ultimate axiom of don't flinch, and all you got to do is look to Green Bay. Are people jumping off the top rows of Lambeau Field that Aaron Rodgers is hurt? And that team has suffered a lot of significant injuries. You build depth, you build through the draft for cases like this, and you maintain calm, and you work your way through it.
The truth is, from week to week, everything changes around here. Last week, it was the coronation of the Bengals after 49-9, and this week, everybody's back ready to jump off the bridge.
It's the same way everywhere we go. I mean, only fools bet the NFL. Only idiots who want to lose their money bet on NFL football, like Joe Reedy. You're absolutely right. Every week is a different week. Every week is a new drama. That's why the league is so popular. I mean, people expecting this nice, smooth ride ascent is not happening. Doesn't happen anywhere.
It won't. But we're going to have a nice, smooth ride here because everyone's drinking at the Moerlein Lager House, so they're very easy to please. But you're done hearing from us at least a little bit. We're going to bring Clark Harris up here to talk with him. How's everybody excited to have Clark Harris here at the Moerlein Lager House tonight? We'll bring him up. Of course, send us any questions that you have, whether it be for Clark, for us, or for next week at Twitter at #BeyondTheStripes. Send us anything on Facebook /Cincinnati Enquirer. We'd love to get to that, but we'll be right back with Clark Harris here on Cincinnati.com Sports Beyond the Stripes, presented by JosephAuto.com.
Do not, I repeat, do not buy a 2013 Chevy from another dealer. Not when you can get a 2014 from Joseph Chevrolet for the same price or less. Seriously, Joseph Chevrolet's 2014s are a better deal than anyone else's 2013s. $129 a month for a new Cruise? Up to $6,500 off a 2014 Silverado? Now that's a clearance sale. Don't pay more for a 2013 than a 2014. Come to Joseph Chevrolet now.
Uncle Ray.
Where should we go to eat tonight?
How are the Reds doing?
What time does the movie start?
Did you hear about the new Bengals
Check
player?
out this photo gallery.
Did you check out the bands coming to the show?
That's the story.
Sure, what? If you don't read The Enquirer at Cincinnati.com, you're missing out on what everyone's talking about. Breaking news, the best local events calendar, and in-depth stories. Updated all day long. Subscribe now at Cincinnati.com/subscribe. The Enquirer at Cincinnati.com. It's what everyone's talking about.
All right, welcome back to Cincinnati.com Sports Beyond the Stripes. Paul Daugherty, presented by JosephAuto.com. We're still here at the Moerlein Lager House. And we have Clark Harris with us now at the desk. Clark, how are you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Doing fantastic. Of course, we can't start with our own questions. We got to go to the Twitters. We'll promise that we have gone through them. They are not angry. They're very nice. Lindsay, what do we have on Twitter?
You know, it did help to have the game on Thursday and have the show on Tuesday. Everyone's feeling just a little bit better. Brian Williams says he's still pretty down, but not as crushed as he was on Thursday. And DP, this is for Clark Harris. He says they will win the AFC North, but wonders, are you guys afraid of the Cleveland Browns and their little streak?
Nope, not afraid of anybody. I don't care who we play in the NFL, whether it's in our division or not. We're going to come out to play and try to beat whoever lines up against us.
When is the last time anybody asked a question like that? Yeah. Are you afraid of the Cleveland Browns?
That seems
it's
a little
legitimate
odd.
question this year. It's a legitimate question.
Where I was born, maybe.
Well, let's. You know what? You have the interesting skill. You're a long snapper. You're tight end by trade originally, and then you figured out the. When did long snapping enter the equation for you? When did that happen?
I've always done it my whole life. I mean, I started playing football in 9th grade, and just started doing it then. I could do it when I was a little kid. Just always been able to pick up a ball and throw it between my legs, I guess.
How do you know you're exceptional at it, I guess? Is that like just something that you're like, man, apparently I'm very good at this?
I don't know. When you show up to football and they say who can do it, and you raise your hand and they throw you in there, and you just continually get better and get better every day and end up in the NFL doing it.
Did you ever dream that you'd end up making a living doing this? Did you ever say to somebody when you were 8 or 9 years old, Daddy, I'm going to grow up and be a long snapper in the NFL?
No, I'm not going to lie. It's still a little embarrassing. Since I've been drafted as a tight end and I actually have played football before, being a long snapper, it's still playing football but scaled back a little bit. So it's still a little embarrassing to tell people who don't really know.
How hard was that transition, though, going from tight end to long snapper?
As long as I have a job, it was pretty easy. Once I got a job doing it, I didn't mind. Like I said, I still mind telling people, but I don't mind doing it.
2009, you were on the trial tour, I'm sure, with a lot of the same specialists. Just how did that work out going Cincinnati and finally landing with the team again?
I guess it went all right. For the workout, it was pretty rainy, and I wear gloves when I snap. Me and the guy from Kansas City do that, and Darren Simmons, the head coach, not the head coach, special teams coach, didn't know I wore gloves. So I went out there, and I don't wear them when they rain, so I snapped, and then I got the job. And then the first day of practice, I showed up wearing gloves, and he got a little mad at me, asking why I was wearing gloves, and I had to explain to him that this is what I did, and after so many years, I don't know if he still appreciates it.
But here's the thing about your job. Everybody else on the field is allowed to screw up occasionally. You have no margin for error. Guys drop a pass, well, okay, not great, but it's not killing the whole game. Guys fumble, guys miss an interception, a quarterback makes a bad read. They're all allowed to screw up. You are not allowed to screw up.
Don't do it.
But I mean,
that's all there is to it.
If you do it more than a couple of times, you're gone.
You do it once, you could be gone. So don't do it.
Well, you'd get the benefit of the doubt. You've been here a while. But once or twice messing up, that's incredible to me. Do you ever feel like this immense pressure? My God,
Nope.
Well, why not?
Because it's when I go out on the field, game day, practice, my backyard, playing, doesn't matter where I go, every snap is the same. It may sound weird. I mean, I've snapped 2 game winners this year and 1 last week to put us up, and the same thing goes through my head. Nothing.
Nothing.
When I get over the ball, I just do what comes natural. Grab the ball and throw it between my legs. I mean, I don't think about anything. I don't think about the situation in the game. I don't think if it's the fourth quarter. I don't think if it's the first quarter. If it's warm-ups for the game, it doesn't matter. Every snap's exactly the same.
And I gotta imagine that's probably why you're so darn good at it. But tell me this: I heard a rumor that you have some sort of video of long snapping tricks that you have fired off. What is on this, and what kind of tasks did you try to do to show off your skills?
Well, I don't have the video anymore because I broke my phone, but it consists of snapping and hitting beer bottles off and making bets with my friends about if I can knock certain beer bottles off of certain things or golf balls off of stuff. So my best thing I've done yet is I had, if you can imagine, 2 beer bottles with 2 beer bottles turned upside down on top of those.
Yeah.
And a bucket in the middle. Well, I hit the top one off of both of them and then the bottom one off of both of them again. But I missed the bucket on my 5th shot, so I was kind of mad.
Wow.
David Letterman call you?
No.
That would be a hell of a thing for David Letterman.
I stay out of the spotlight.
Yeah, well,
I
you're
came
a long
out for
snapper,
you guys.
brother.
I like you guys. That's how I came out for the night.
These trick shot videos are so popular. I mean, you can invent a whole new line of trick shot YouTube videos. You go viral.
Yeah, I got a job though, so I'm all right. I don't gotta do that.
All right, I don't know if this is true or not, but your Wikipedia page, I'm not sure if you've made a little edit change to it.
I have never touched my Wikipedia page. People I know have. I have not.
Are you an avid board game player? Are you good at a certain board game?
Every board game.
Every board game. What's your favorite?
Monopoly.
Monopoly?
Undefeated.
What's the secret to Monopoly? Is it the railroads? I believe
No.
the railroads
Okay,
play a
the ra-
huge role.
They're kind of what help you build, but it's definitely, I can't give my secret away.
Yes, you can.
No.
No one's listening, I promise.
No, it's definitely the orange and the red corner. Orange and red corner.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Get hotels on the orange as fast as possible.
There's more, though.
Yeah, teriyaki joysticks.
What are the teriyaki
What-
joysticks?
What is that?
Okay.
It's a family
Can you
show
say
now.
that?
Well, okay. Again, with me and my friends back home, this was back a couple years ago, I guess. I guess we still do it every once in a while. But again, when we get together and we have a couple of drinks, we just like to randomly text. We have about 10 to 15 people who all text one number. It's kind of like prank calling, but just text-wise. Just something stupid we do. And one of the best ones that we decided we ever came up with was teriyaki joysticks. Why that is on the Wikipedia page, I have no idea. But that is where that comes from.
Wikipedia is dangerous.
That it is.
You didn't mention my stoop ball championship, though.
Yeah, we're getting to that.
Okay. I wanted to make sure.
That's actually real. The stoop ball, 4-time stoop ball champion is actually real.
We can't leave that out.
Yeah.
I mean, among groups of people on the team, you, Nuge, Huber, spent a lot of time together off on the side field and everything. But I think the Detroit game, the last 5 minutes, each of you guys had a major contribution. Nuge with the game-winning kick, Huber with the punt. But you getting down there and downing it at the 5 to knock Detroit back deep.
It's nice to be able to do that. It's rare that I get to get down there and do that. It's rare that I get to make tackles or anything. So anytime I'm able to make a play like that, I love it.
What do you guys talk about? You guys are off to the side constantly. There's a lot of downtime for you three. What do you guys talk about?
There's some things I can share and some things I can't. One of our major discussions that was during camp, actually made it on Hard Knocks, was superpowers. Taylor May, see, I want to clear the record here. This was not Taylor Mays' conversation. This was the specialist conversation. Taylor Mays and Terrence Newman took this over, and Hard Knocks ran with it. This is a specialist conversation. It's all about what the best superpower would be. And then we got into combining them, but then that gets too tricky, so then we went back to only having one.
What was your answer to that, by the way? What is the best superpower?
I would say flying like Superman at the speed of light, you know. But then with our debates, they got a good point. You only have one superpower, so you're not indestructible. If you hit something, you're dead. Yeah. So you got to think of that. So it came down to probably being a jumper. It's from a movie. Not many people see it, but pretty much you're a teleporter. You can close your eyes and go wherever you want. We decided that's probably the best one.
You are from New Jersey. It makes you a Jersey guy.
From the Jersey Shore too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What does it mean to be a Jersey guy? I mean, do you relate to those people on that stupid show?
No.
GTL.
Do you worship John Bon Jovi? Do you?
No.
What define? I mean, Todd Frazier is a Jersey guy.
Great guy.
He plays Frank Sinatra for his walk-up music.
But see what happened? He's from Toms River, so he's kind of. Toms River is the border. I'm right south of Toms River.
Okay.
But Toms River is the border. That's where the show takes place. That's where the Jersey Shore takes place. That's where all the Guidos go. That's where all the nightclubs
Guidos,
are. Yeah.
yes.
Where I'm from, it's more of a family-oriented town.
I see.
So Frazier, I don't know. I've hung out with him, but I don't know. Because he's from Toms River, but he seems like he's not a Guido. So I got to hang out with him.
Does everybody wear wife beaters and chains and
where
talk?
he's from, yeah.
But not you.
Not where I'm
you're,
from.
You're higher class. 10 minutes away.
Family-oriented, I like to say.
Family-oriented.
10 miles south, yeah.
Family. That sounds like you're from Philadelphia. But define a Jersey guy. What does that mean to be a Jersey guy?
I don't know. It's hard because there's North Jersey and South Jersey.
Okay.
It's a small state, but they're two different states. North Jersey is the Guidos, the New Yorkers, the guys with the accents. I can't even do it because I'm not from there. I'm from South Jersey. I'm more like beach bum kind of guy, you know, like hanging out at the beach. I grew up at the beach. I like to do water sports. I like to kneeboard and jet ski and wakeboard and boating and fishing and clamming and all types of stuff like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Well, South
Learn
Jersey.
something new every day. You don't like Southside Johnny. You never heard of Southside Johnny.
Never heard of him.
You don't like Springsteen. You don't like Bon Jovi.
No.
Well, who's left?
I'm only 29, so it's...
You trying to make me feel old? This is my show, damn it.
I will say, being a Jersey guy has sort of changed a little bit over the last year after Hurricane Sandy happened. I mean, you were directly, I remember us all talking to you after that. You were directly affected, you and your family, by that, right?
Yes. My house got totaled, not totaled completely, but I was planning on ripping it down. So that's being in the process of getting ripped down probably in the next week or two. And then my parents had to just redo their house. Everyone I know, everyone in that area, smashed. 8 feet of water, everything just completely demolished. But oh well, they're rebuilding. Life goes on.
Yeah. I mean, where is that at now as far as rebuild? Is it you're just starting, or have you been back and is it still a mess?
Well, I cleared out my house. I went back last bye week during last season and cleared out the bottom of my house so that the mold and stuff wouldn't grow. And then this summer, my family stayed there for the summer just for our during the off season. And then since I've come back, we're in the process of ripping it down and just completely building something new so that we don't have to worry about rebuilding and worrying about an old house.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have plenty more coming up here with Clark Harris here at the Moerlein Lager House. We're going to talk to him previewing next week's game against Baltimore. But before that, Joe Reedy and I are going to be mean to each other again. But we're gonna try and calm it down a little bit. But we're gonna have our daily debate that we're gonna break out, and we'll do that. Like I said, talking more with Clark Harris. So we'll be right back here on Beyond the Stripes, presented by JosephAuto.com.
Chris, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening? This place looks awesome. Brand new showroom, brand new service department. Now all I need is a new caddy. And I'm thinking the North American Car of the Year, the ATS right here. What do you think?
Nice car, Chris, and only $299 a month. But a guy your size, you need the comfort, the technology that this car has. The XTS for only $399 a month.
For $100 more, I can do this?
$100.
I'll win that from you on the golf course. Come on, let's do it.
Compliments of Camargo Cadillac.
Where should we go to eat tonight?
How are the Reds doing?
What time does the movie start?
Did you hear about the new Bengals
Check
player?
out this photo gallery.
Did you check out the bands coming to the
That's the story.
Sure, what?
If you don't read The Inquirer at Cincinnati.com, you're missing out on what everyone's talking about. Breaking news, the best local events calendar, and in-depth stories. Updated all day long. Subscribe now at Cincinnati.com/subscribe. The Inquirer at Cincinnati.com. It's what everyone's talking about.
The Moerlein Lager House is Cincinnati's premier brew pub. The restaurant features impressive lunch and dinner menus, as well as a wide selection of beer and other drinks. The Lager House is also proud to continue Cincinnati's brewing heritage by brewing their own fresh craft beer on site. Conveniently located along the riverfront, the Moerlein Lager House offers spectacular views while you dine. Moerlein Lager House. Celebrate the past, taste the future.
Now, without further ado, we are going to enter into this week's debate. I don't know why I'm in the middle.
You have to be in the middle to separate us in case it gets physical, Doc.
No, I want you guys to get physical. I just don't want to get in the middle of it.
Very Jim Lerner-like here, Doc.
Think of the hits. What is it? The hits?
Yeah, the hits.
The views we'd get if you guys mixed it up. That's all. That's what this is all about.
That's the season finale. You can't do that. Everybody knows you save that for the end of the season. You tease it all year.
Plus,
you can't just do it now.
I hate to tease it in next segment, but I could be taking a huge hit coming up.
That's true.
That's a nice segue, gentlemen, for the first question.
Let's do it.
Given the injury to Geno Atkins last Thursday night, what, in your mind, Paul Daugherty Jr., is the worst injury in Cincinnati sports history?
I think anybody that's been here long enough remembers the institution that the University of Cincinnati basketball was in the 90s, and their run all led up to the 1999-2000 season when they had the number one team in America, the number one player in America, and were primed to take that next step over what they had always been. And it was the town was crazy for that team, loved that team, everything about them, loved Kenyon Martin. And for him to go down right before the tournament and to have to watch that team wash out in such a brutal fashion, watch him, everyone still remembers him getting wheeled off. I think that was as brutal as it got because of the potential that team had to do something that had not been done since the early 60s.
All right, Grumpy Joe, top that.
Carson Palmer, 2005 playoff game. Talked to Chad last week. He still firmly believes that if Carson doesn't get kneed by Kimo von Oelhoffen, they'd be wearing rings right now, and it's hard to debate that.
Kimo von Axe Murderer?
Yes.
Okay. Question number 2. Paul Daugherty?
Yes.
Would you have attempted a 58-yard field goal last Thursday night in overtime?
Let me tell you why my answer is yes. Clark Harris would have had a perfect snap. All you've done is watch Mike Nugent knock these things through. Was it a tough decision? Absolutely. And I think you can argue it either way. But the fact that Mike Nugent and Kevin Huber and Clark Harris have been so key for these in clutch situations, and Nugent had just knocked through a 54-yarder, I say you give it another shot. The up and down roller coaster of that game, you really should. You can take one shot and try and win it and trust your defense if he doesn't hit it.
I say you don't, because with Clark's perfect snap to Kevin Huber, he pins him deep. And just looking at that game, you knew that there was going to be a play where Tannehill tries to hit Mike Wallace deep. They did it on that drive, pass interference penalty midfield. Imagine if he misses a field goal. You're at midfield right now. They go with the go route to Wallace. You get a pass interference or a completion. Game over right there. Play it a little bit more.
Should be pointed out that since the Bengals lost and chose the other strategy, I think I'm proven correct in this.
I think I'm the one who decides who's correct here.
Okay.
All right. The Ravens have gone from Super Bowl champions to train wreck. They lost to the Cleveland Browns, who I'm hearing that we should fear now in Cincinnati.
Fear the elf.
Who Joe Reedy is to blame for what has occurred in Baltimore?
I'm going to go with the offensive line, which is pretty lousy right now. Joe Flacco's been sacked 25 times. The offensive line doesn't look good to the point that Ray Rice resembles circa 2007 Rudy Johnson. And that's not a circa that you want.
That's not a circa you want. I witnessed that.
Yeah.
But what is the real problem when teams, when they can't bring people back, don't replace guys that get older? I know this is probably blasphemy in Baltimore, but I blame the GM. I'm looking at Ozzie Newsome. You've got to have replacements for these guys. The Bengals have young guys coming up through the system that replace when guys get older. You can say the same problem in Pittsburgh, not drafting well enough to have replacements. Your offensive line, Matt Burke retires. That was no secret. You've done a trade for Eugene Monroe to try and fix things. You need to be far ahead of this game, and that's come back to haunt.
But Ozzie did draft the last 2-3 years. The players haven't produced. He drafted Geno Gradkowski. He hasn't played well so far. Ozzie drafted knowing
players
that eventually
don't produce. He drafted players that didn't produce. That's not the player's fault. That's the evaluator's fault. Because if they were good players, they would produce. How is that not on the GM?
We'll see in a year or two whether it goes. It's just that right
now they're a train wreck because he has a bunch of players that he drafted that aren't producing.
But you can't judge a draft for a couple years.
I'm losing control of my show here.
You need to step up then. I'm getting fired up. Let's go.
We got one more question. It's the most important question.
Yes.
Absolutely. What is the better bird, the Oriole or the Raven?
I think... and this has nothing to do with the team, but I think the Raven, by the actual bird, it is a much more aggressive bird, a more attacking bird. Edgar Allan Poe wrote a beautiful poem about the Raven, and did you know it's among the smartest of birds? I learned that when I researched today as well. So that's why I'm taking the ferocious, attacking, intelligent Raven over your little dainty Oriole.
Hey, the Oriole has a loud, aggressive, melodious song. Plus, it is one of the cutest baseball mascots out there.
You're arguing cute?
Yes, I'm arguing cute, darn it.
I'll take smart and ferocious over cute and melodious any day.
I got to weigh in on all this nonsense.
Weigh in.
I vote Kenyon Martin.
Yes.
Easily the most traumatic sports injury in Cincinnati.
One.
Would you have tried a 58-yard field goal in that situation? Absolutely not. Bengals made the right call. Who's to blame in Baltimore? The guy who brings the players in, Ozzie Newsome.
Thank you.
And I got to agree with Paul that the Raven has it over the Oriole. Therefore, Paul Daugherty Jr. wins this week. I'm very sorry, Joe.
Thank
That's
you, Doc,
okay.
for seeing the genius.
It is 1-1 now on the season, though.
I appreciate you knowing what was going on. Lindsay, we have madness here. I'm taking it to you. What do you got, Lindsay?
You know what? I would have said the Raven, Carson Palmer's injury, too. And, yeah, I would have kicked the field goal. Let's hear from Marvin Lewis, Marvin Jones, and Andy Dalton after the loss in Miami.
And then just weren't able to finish it out and reap the reward of it. We fought and hung in there. I think our biggest Achilles heel tonight obviously was the turnovers. And we got to eliminate those things. It's difficult to overcome those.
I saw everything exactly how I thought I was going to. I was really comfortable out there. We were doing some really good. We were doing some things, and we just, there's a couple plays we didn't make.
We had opportunities, and we were supposed to capitalize on those opportunities. The short week, the coaches did a great job keeping us fresh.
In my opinion, the quarterback wasn't the ball was out of the end zone, and so. He was, I don't know, that's a quick look at the board. They got a little better resolution look at it than I do. So.
They didn't take me out of any kind of comfort zone. I felt really confident with what we had going in, and at the end of the day, we just didn't make the plays.
We did some good things in the game, Miami did some good things, at the end. So, they won, and, we had to go back and look at ourselves.
The most attractive woman in history. We used to talk about that.
All right, we're back here at the Moerlein Lager House. That was unfortunately sad locker room. One of the more dejected of the locker rooms that we've seen after recent Bengals losses. But I think the weekend and seeing the results as well around the league have helped mellow out things. And you look back now, when you're a little bit more removed from it because of the way it happened, 2-game lead in the division, a division that you have 2 weeks now to take clear control of. Joe, are these to me seem like the 2 most critical weeks in the season when it comes to winning the AFC North?
Yeah, because you win at Baltimore, you beat Cleveland, you got control of the division, you have a nice relaxing bye week. Maybe Marvin gives Clark and the guys off after Tuesday's practice. And you then talk about seeding in the AFC. And that's the plain matter of things. But I also think, too, Thursday's loss was bad, but considering all the events throughout the league this week, it's kind of pales in comparison to which, for me, as far as off-field stuff, was one of the wilder weeks that I can remember in a while.
Is the theme in the locker room coming back off this, put this behind us, the division is right as our fingertips these next 2 weeks?
Yeah, pretty much it. We don't need other teams to lose. We don't need help from anybody. It's all up to us. We win, we win.
And here's a question. Do players take losses like Thursday night as hard as fans seem to?
Anytime you lose, it sucks. I've never really been a fan, so I don't really know how hard fans take it, but I know we take it pretty hard. But like they said, we gotta move on.
Right, you have to have the ability to let it go, to forget about it, because you got one coming up the next week.
Exactly. Can't harp on wins, can't harp on losses. Take what it is, move on, learn from the game, and win the next game.
We've covered all the important topics here. We've covered Birds, we've covered Baltimore, but there's one more important topic that Doc's going to talk about. But then, more importantly, you are going to snap a football and possibly knock Reedy's face off. And really, I think that's what we've all been waiting for. So tweet it out so we can get the views going, because it's about to be Clark Harris attacking Joe Reedy's face with a football here at the Moerlein Lager House. Who wants to see that? Everyone in that section will have to probably pick their beers up, because there's a chance this thing could go flying after it ricochets off his nose. So be ready for that. But we're going to be right back with plenty more action here from Beyond the Stripes at the Moerlein Lager House, presented by JoeSpato.com.
Chris, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening? This place looks awesome. Brand new showroom, brand new service department. Now all I need is a new caddy. And I'm thinking the North American Car of the Year, the ATS right here. What do you think?
Nice car, Chris, and only $299 a month. But a guy your size, you need the comfort, the technology that this car has. The XTS for only $399 a month.
For $100 more, I can do this?
$100.
I'll win that from you on the golf course. Come on, let's do it.
Compliments of Camargo Cadillac.
Where should we go to eat tonight?
How are the Reds doing?
What time does the movie start?
Did you hear about the new Bengals
Check
player?
out this photo gallery.
Did you check out the bands coming to the
This is great. I missed the story.
She wore what?
If you don't read The Inquirer at Cincinnati.com, you're missing out on what everyone's talking about. Breaking news, the best local events calendar, and in-depth stories. Updated all day long. Subscribe now at Cincinnati.com/subscribe. The Inquirer at Cincinnati.com. It's what everyone's talking about.
The Moerlein Lager House is Cincinnati's premier brew pub. The restaurant features impressive lunch and dinner menus, as well as a wide selection of beer and other drinks. The Lager House is also proud to continue Cincinnati's brewing heritage by brewing their own fresh craft beer on site. Conveniently located along the riverfront, the Moerlein Lager House offers spectacular views while you dine. Moerlein Lager House. Celebrate the past, taste the future.
We are back. You know, the worst of the NFL has been on display in Miami this week. Lineman Richie Incognito is a thug. We knew that already, if only because he's been voted the league's second dirtiest player by his peers and was flagged 38 times in 4 years as a St. Louis Ram, 7 times for unnecessary roughness. What we didn't know is that in voicemails to current teammate Jonathan Martin, Incognito is also apparently a racist and an extortionist. He dropped the N-word on his teammate and forced him to pay $15,000 for a trip to Las Vegas. That the man was still in the league as recently as Thursday night speaks to the culture still prevalent in pro football. A twisted definition of toughness still exists to the extent that initially Martin was portrayed as weak for walking away from the madness of last week. Incognito threatened to kill Martin. This isn't hazing. Had it occurred in a normal workplace, the police would have been called. As it was, Incognito played against the Bengals. Is it possible to play a violent, unforgiving game and remain a gentleman, or at least civil? Of course. But the league's wink-winking remains in full effect. Incognito was on Miami's Player Leadership Council. Football is different, but not so different that criminal behavior that can be tolerated. Incognito needs to be gone, but no more gone than the attitude he represents. It takes a man to walk away. Jonathan Martin is a man. What is Richie Incognito? Guys?
Thank you, Doc. An interesting topic, one that we broached in the locker room on Monday with a couple of different veteran players. And Clark, you can offer your take on this as well. The NFL locker room is viewed as different. It's you know, guys aren't trying to get yelled at, cursed at, and broken down by their coaches as an accountant. But is there a very clear line, or is the line blurred a little bit because of the NFL culture in the locker room?
I guess it's almost what the guys are willing to tolerate themselves. I mean, I feel like if I were to hear a guy saying some of the things I don't know if they're true or not. I don't keep up on all this stuff. But if I were to hear some of these things, I would, step in and have to say something. Like, you need to, step back a little bit, chill a little bit. It's gone a little far, but I mean, it all depends on what the team is willing to tolerate, I guess.
It seems like your locker room is different because of the leadership. You talk about him being on the leadership council. Yeah. Guys like Whitworth, guys like Croc, all the leaders really, you have a really strong locker room. That seems to be that there's really not a lot of that type of stuff even close to tolerated.
No, we have a lot of good guys, and we all just kind of get along. If you got a problem with somebody, air it out, talk about it, get over it, move on with it. It's just like a game. You got something, move on with it. Who cares?
I think Incognito is an extreme case.
Yeah.
It has been his whole career that way. What I'm disappointed with is the lack of vigilance on the part of the league or on the players themselves, frankly, in that locker room. They're in charge of that locker room. You got to police your own locker room. Do it.
I think more, though, Doc, it's a failure of the head coach, that the position coach, the offensive coordinator, and the general manager not knowing about this. This is a head coach that is a neat freak in the locker room and preaches cleanliness, and he doesn't know that one of his offensive linemen is being hazed and severely berated and bullied? Come on. I mean, to me, and plus Philbin, because we do know of rigged elections and stuff, could have elected, yeah, you guys voted this, but nobody knows the results of the election and gets them not on the leadership committee. So to me, I put more blame on upper administration too.
The offensive line coach.
Yeah.
How do you not know that's happening in your group is really my first question.
Well,
to that
they
entire
do know,
team.
but the guy could play, so they let it slide.
And why do you need the NFL's help to come and control your locker room, to figure out what happened, to investigate everything? Why aren't you in front of that before you invite them in?
It's an indictment on the coaching staff, and the question I've heard raised now is if the Dolphins fade on top of this, could Joe Philbin's job be in jeopardy? I start to hear that be floated around now.
I think Joe Philbin's job's in jeopardy right now just for stuff like this. And I mean, we all remember Hard Knocks last year. Joe Philbin, even in cutting Chad, was I'm sorry, we have to do this and everything, instead of a definitive on some of the decisions. So Philbin hasn't looked well for a while.
All right, Joe. I'm ready for Clark to snap a football at your face. Who's ready for this? Clark Harris is going to grab a football. Joe Reedy's going to stand back here amongst the tables over here, so you beware. And Joe's going to attempt to catch it in a very short range. Everyone grab your glasses over in this area because it's going to be coming in hot.
Clark says this
and
is
Joe
shorts?
has taken his glasses off, so we're all concerned that he cannot see the ball. Fire it. Fire it at him.
We vote fire.
He'll catch
Yeah,
it.
fire.
Don't worry, he'll catch it. You fire it at him, Clark. Just give it to him. Clark
Joe's
Harris
face, it's okay.
at Joe Reedy, who's ready. Hut. He's ready. All right, well, that's not quite how we planned on it going. That's not what we had in mind. Unfortunately,
Come on,
chaos
Reedy.
at the Moerlein Lager House. That thing came in pretty hot. Don't worry.
And now you owe my daughter a beer.
The beautiful, the great staff here at the Moerlein Lager House already on the case, cleaning it up. Joe. That was not fired. Joe, you okay? Joe's okay. Everyone
Let's hear
appears
for
to be
Joe.
okay. We've survived complete chaos at the Moerlein Lager House. Despite the damage he caused, let's thank Clark Harris for coming out here tonight. And thank Joe Reedy for taking the hits, and for everybody for coming out. Next week, Dane Sanzenbacher will be here. We'll try not to cause any damage or violence. So check us next week at the Moerlein Lager House, 7 o'clock, Beyond the Stripes, presented by JosephAuto.com. Let's shut this thing down.